Hey guys! This is Cartoon Recapped. Today we'll show you a 2024 comedy fantasy cartoon called That Christmas. Be aware of heavy spoilers. Sit back and enjoy the show. In the seaside Suffolk town of Wellington-on-Sea, Suffolk Coast, England, the townsfolk prepare themselves to celebrate Christmas. Wanting to change things up for the Christmas season, free-spirited local rebel Bernadette McNutt puts on a more liberal spin at an annual school Christmas play scene which not many of the parents enjoy. Danny Williams, a shy new boy in town who tries to adjust to his parents' divorce and is upset but not surprised that Mrs. Williams, his mother, has to leave for work, almost misses his cue due to staring at Sam Beckles, an anxious girl whom he secretly has a crush on, but Charlie, Sam's mischievous identical twin sister, arrives to humiliate Nisha Maligi, a bully who ridicules Sam, in front of the audience. Charlie teases Sam about her fears while riding on their bicycles back home with their parents as the McNutts drive with their neighbors. Danny converses with Mrs. Williams through sticky notes about the play and his crush on Sam. Racing to their room, Sam tries to convince Charlie to behave for Santa Claus, but Charlie ignores her. The next morning, Bernadette, Evie, her younger sister, Nisha, play with Nisha, Teddy and Scarlett, the Forrest siblings, while Sam and Charlie play in the snow. However, Mrs. Williams fails to notice that the school is closed due to an weather-related cancellation, and Danny is caught trying to leave by Mrs. Trapper, his teacher who has him catch up on his studies due to his poor marks. Meanwhile, the McNutts, the Forrests and Mrs. Mulgy, Nisha's mother, plan to have Bernadette watch the kids as they attend a wedding the following day. Sam watches Charlie put out a prank on their neighbor who is mean to her dog. As a result, Mrs. Beckles, their mother, scolds Charlie and has them read while she plays Santa Claus is Comin' to Town on the piano and Sam notices Charlie checks something off from a piece of paper. During a 10-minute recess, Mrs. Trapper teaches Williams how to properly build a snowman and Danny notices that Mrs. Trapper is miserable on the way home after spending the rest of the day playing in the snow with her. On Christmas Eve, the McNutts, the Forrests and Mrs. Mulgy rush to the wedding while the kids get a barn near their houses ready for their annual Christmas traditions. The Beckles are forced to retrieve the turkeys from Farmer Yerl who kills them before selling them as the butcher could not get a shipment in due to a blizzard. Sam protests as Farmer Yerl is cruel, but they insist on going anyway. At the farm, Charlie sneaks away to try and free the turkeys while Sam distracts Farmer Yerl. As everyone chases the birds, Sam chastises Charlie for her actions as she fears that it will reflect on her, upsetting Charlie. Mrs. Williams advises Danny to drop by Sam's family store to acquire wine gums for his father. Danny nervously prepares a speech but freezes upon seeing her. After Danny notices the shop's closure, Sam invites him in to warm himself up for a minute, but Danny refuses. Unbeknownst to Danny, Charlie teases Sam about her secret crush on him. When the adults leave the reception, they are forced to take the long way home thanks to a snowstorm. After avoiding a turkey, they go off the road and slide down a slope from off a bridge. They inform their children that they'll be home later than expected and have them stay together for the night. Upon arriving home, Danny is called by his father who informs him he's unable to come due to the blizzard. Sam cleans Charlie's side of the room. While the kids get ready for bed and fall asleep, Evie expresses her disappointment that her parents are not home. As Danny sleeps with Mrs. Williams who comforts him, Santa arrives at Wellington with Dasher and, upon learning about the situations in Danny's life, leaves him behind with his stocking full and a quad bike in front of his house. After learning of the kids' current events, Santa leaves them with their peculiar gifts. Noting that Sam has been nice while Charlie has been naughty, Santa accidentally confuses the twins and leaves Charlie behind with the presents. Charlie awakes and is overjoyed to find presents but sadly sees Sam's empty stocking and realizes they are meant for her sister, so she moves everything to her sister's stocking and goes to bed. Santa gets a reading that Charlie's in fact nice and returns to Wellington. On Christmas Day, Charlie wakes up to hear Sam's cries of joy and congratulates her. Sam points towards Charlie's stocking to find it full. The twins show their parents and Charlie finds a button saying officially nice in her stocking but decides to keep it away from her family. Upon waking up, the kids discover their gifts, and Bernadette leads them in having the Christmas they want. During a game of hide and seek, Evie gets out. An overjoyed Danny becomes disheartened when he learns that Mrs. Williams has to work as Lighthouse Bill's mother is sick. Mrs. Williams leaves after a small fight and Danny, seeing Mrs. Trapper alone, offers to have lunch with her, but Mrs. Trapper refuses and convinces him to see things from his mother's perspective. Charlie inadvertently destroys an ornament and Sam questions how her sister got her gifts. Meanwhile, the parents struggle to get up from the slope and Mr. McNutt gives his wife a fully charged phone as a gift. After berating him for keeping it to himself, they call their children and emergency services. After neither pick up their answer, Mr. Forrest decides to call Mrs. Trapper as the others are too terrified of her. Having been alerted of the stranded motorists, Mrs. Trapper enlists Danny's help to convince Farmer Ural to get the motorists to safety simply by hauling them back to their houses where they're ultimately greeted by their children and helps Danny make an igloo for Mrs. Williams. As Charlie is untidying her side of the room, Sam finds Charlie's notes and realizes she did all those things to help Sam, even developing a plan to get her and Danny together. Danny and Mrs. Williams reconcile and offer Mrs. Trapper a place at their table, but Mrs. Trapper refuses and looks through a box of mementos belonging to Jamie, her late husband. The McNees, the Forrests and Mrs. Mulgee notice that Evie's missing and they search for her, getting the town involved in their search. Mrs. Trapper enlists Danny to take her to the McNutt house where she takes up the command. As the Beckles search, the twins' parents berate Charlie for her method of searching, but Sam defends her sister by saying that she is only simply doing things in her own way. The girls go on ahead and run into Danny, whom they then join in on his quad bike. After noticing the lighthouse, the trio enlists Bill to find something in the snow and keep the light on it, seeing that Bernadette is close to the object. Bernadette sees the object and, realizing that it's Evie's favorite toy, follows the footprints to the water where she falls on her knees and sobs at the thought of her sister drowning as Danny, Sam and Charlie arrive to comfort her. Fortunately, Danny notices that Lighthouse Bill has flashed the light on a set of footprints from the lighthouse and the group follow them to a row of beach huts where they find Evie sheltering with several turkeys. Bernadette hugs Eve as the others inform the town that Evie has been found. After Bernadette and Evie's parents arrive, Bernadette apologizes to her mother for losing Evie as Mrs. McNee forgives her. Upon learning that Danny thought of using the lighthouse, Bernadette hails him a hero and Danny, with Charlie's encouragement, asks out Sam. On Boxing Day, Lighthouse Bill goes to the beach to swim in the cold ocean with half the town including Danny, Sam, Charlie, Bernadette, Evie, Nisha, Teddy, Scarlett, the McNees, Mrs. Mulgee, the Forrests, Mrs. Trapper and Mrs. Williams all arriving to enjoy themselves. Thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.